JM.
My name is Jack. My name is Jay.
And my name is Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Financial House. So, are you ready?
Invest in the stock market so that you'll become rich.
I know it's unconventional, it's not traditional, but it works. Plan, build, secure.
Do you want to become a super manifester? This March, Coach Marc Wynn will teach us how here in WoW.
So I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to teach you this skill. It's a skill on how to be a super manifester. And over the course of the next 5 weeks, I'm going to take you on some amazing journey. But I'm going to give you the spiritual knowledge as to why things work. So when you put them into action, they'll happen. So we're going to deal with divine connection. We're going to deal with self-empowerment, how you can take control back over your lives. We're going to deal with money and getting new clients. We're going to deal with love and happiness. And then I'm going to tell you the one big secret that you must know. And this will totally transform your life. And it will make all your manifestations go like that, boom, and they just happen. And you'll go from wherever you are in your life to suddenly smiling and being excited because you've got all this stuff magically coming in. This is like a magic formula. And I know this works because I've proven it to work with me and over 20,000 people around the world. And you'll be amazed what you see will happen.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday.
It's time.
There's a secret to success everybody hopes to find. There's a key to the world, and it's mine, all mine. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm gonna find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes to success. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes to success. I've got a blueprint for the future, brand new design. I'm playing at the money game, winning all the time. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm going to find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes, oh, I say yes to success.
Hello everyone, before we begin, let's start with a prayer in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for another WoW session today. We pray that everyone who listens will be inspired to take action and change their lives for the better, so we will all have a great 2021. All this we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon, everybody.
I'm Jesse.
Joey.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW,
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
your weekly dose of wisdom.
So for this month of March, we have a special guest who will teach us the secrets to manifesting our dreams and goals. This is going to be a series of talks. It'll be an amazing journey for all of us to manifest our dreams and desires. Today he will discuss clients and money, and he's going to give us one powerful, quick technique to easily manifest something. So without further ado, let us start with the 10th episode of Wisdom on Wednesdays this 2021.
Our guest speaker's story is both interesting and exciting, and he hopes that will be an inspiration for other people to transform their lives. He had been following a spiritual path, believing he understood how the law of attraction works, yet he was manifesting more and more problems and his life was just getting worse. But on the 19th of January 2015, what he learned changed his life. He discovered how the 1% physical world and 99% spiritual world work hand in hand and how to use spiritual solutions to solve physical problems, whether that be health problems, relationships, confidence, or even money issues. Calling himself the manifestation guy, his teachings are based on self-verification where he explains a concept and gives all his clients a technique for them to self-prove that it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Marc Wynn.
Good afternoon once again and welcome to Wisdom on Wednesdays. We are with Coach Marc Wynn who's going to discuss clients and money, a very interesting topic for today. Woo!
Yeah, everybody wants it. Everybody wants money.
Right. So, let me get started right away. Why are there so many people struggling with money?
Well, the reason is, Joey, is because no one understands what money is. And everybody, most people, I'm going to talk about probably 99% of the population, completely have it wrong when it comes to law of attraction and to manifestation. And I can say that because I got myself into deep financial difficulties in 2015 and I had to do the complete reverse of everything I knew. And back then, I thought I was an expert. You know, I'd watched The Secret, I'd listened to the likes of Esther Hicks for years, and I thought I knew everything. My problems got worse and worse and worse. Really, really, really bad. And so I had to kind of figure out what was it I was doing wrong. And it's only by finding out what you're doing wrong and changing it, can you actually do it right. And so the reason why people struggle with money is because they manifest financial problems, right? We are born manifestors. It's like a superpower, right? We were given gifts when we were born. And one of the gifts is to be able to manifest anything and everything that we want in our lives. You know, it's called thoughts, and you turn thoughts into things. But the problem is we manifest problems and we go wrong with money because we've got no idea how it works. And we spend more time, believe it or not, manifesting financial problems than we do financial solutions. And I can prove it to you if you want to go into it.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, well, look, see this, right? So let's imagine, have you ever played tug of war? Like, you know,
Yes.
you've got a big rope.
Yes.
You know, one group on one side, right? Okay, so this is literally how it works. We've got two types of thoughts. We've got the thoughts, which are the good ones, the positive ones, right? So they would be pulling in that direction. So these are the things I'm going to focus on that I want, and I'm happy that I'll really make my life good. And then over here are all the thoughts that we focus on, you know, all the things that I don't want. I don't want to be in debt, and I don't want to miss that mortgage payment, and I'm worried about the money coming in, and I'm worried whether I'm going to get paid. And so the question is, with most people, are these thoughts, the good ones, pulling this lot, or are these ones over here pulling this lot? And what we do, and I know I did it, when I was struggling, I would wake up in the morning and the first thoughts I had were negative ones about a lack of money and how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that. And so what was happening is, like with my tug of war, this lot were pulling me in this direction. So I was spending 99% of my time focusing on problems, on worries, on concerns, on issues. And our world was built like one great big mirror. So whatever you focus on, you get back. And that was given to us because we were given control over our lives. But because we give away that control, we get what we focus on. So most people, when they start talking about, well, I'm not sure I'm going to pay this, I'm worried about that, the percentage of time is much, much greater on actually the problem. So what they get is what they focus on. So they get back more financial problems to prove that they were right. It's a bit like time. Have you ever found, like, see when you're really, really busy and you say something like, I have a lack of time, I have a lack of time, and you start thinking this, what happens is more things come into your life to make you busier to prove that you were right. And that's the universe, the spiritual world saying, there you go, you asked for a lack of time, So I've given you a lack of time. But there's more traffic on the roads because you asked for it. And we forget that we are fantastic manifestors. And we manifest everything in our lives. So if you have financial difficulties, you're struggling with money, it's because you're creating it to happen that way based on your thoughts, and how you develop those from, I don't know, being a child through to whatever time in your life.
Well, that's a totally new perspective on how we view manifesting money or blessings. It's actually a very simple method on how we should view it. It's just like a tug of war. Okay, you mentioned a while ago, you said that, let's say, for example, we keep saying we're busy, and we're attracting more lack of time, right? But what we mean is really, we wanted the reverse. We wanted the contrast. Now, how do we say it? Is there a specific language or a way to say it?
Well, it starts with your belief, right? You can say the words, I'm going to be on time, but if you believe you're going to be late, it comes down to what your belief is at the end of the day. It's like, imagine you go into an airport and you look at how far you've got to travel and what time the plane's due to take off. So we automatically assume because we're going to arrive late, we're going to miss the plane. I've done this before, and I get there, and then the plane's been delayed by an hour. Okay? You might be trying to head into work for a meeting, but who says the meeting's going to turn up, is going to start on time? The boss might be late. It might be one of those things, So what you have to do is, rather than focus on the problem, is look at it from the point of view that, you'll be there on time. And you try and place everything into the kind of present tense. So you just imagine that you're going to be there on time and you use words, relevant to that. And you will be, right? Because these things always sort themselves out. It's like with money, for example, if you go, I don't have enough, you will never have enough. Whereas if you believe that the money actually exists, and I'm going to run you through other mistakes that people make, and then I'm going to show you the right way of doing it, right? If you believe the money actually exists, and then you've got a method to actually allow it to come into your life, then it's that process that allows it to happen. See, what happens is people go, traditionally, that it's the three things that you and I know about. One, you ask. Two, it's given. Three, you allow it to come into your life. And people go, great. So all I've got to do is ask. And they ask, and then they look around, and they go, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's not there. So they ask again. Because they're asking again, they go into a disbelief mode. And as soon as you start to do that, you start to block it. As soon as you start looking for your manifestations, it creates like a wall. You keep shutting. I talk about these doors that exist that allow money and things to come into our lives. But as soon as you start to question where it is, when is it coming, and there's a whole load of other things as well, you shut all these doors and you stop the money coming into your life. So that's where people actually struggle with manifestation, is they block it from coming into their lives, right? And then they start focusing on, where is it? Oh, I can't pay this debt. I can't pay this debt. I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage, my rent, or whatever. And then they start focusing on where the problems are, and then they get more problems coming back. So it all starts with belief. And that's why I always do interviews. I explain at the very beginning that we are the 1%. We are the physical world. But there is the spiritual world, the 99%, however you want to identify with that, wants to give you, really important, everything that you've asked for. Because what they want you to do is to live exciting, vibrant, happy lives, with love and laughter and happiness and health and money. But if you block it all coming into your life, you're never going to get it. And this is what I teach, is how to open up these doors so that it can come in, the things you're asking for, because everything that you ask for exists. I'll give you actually a really good example. This happened to me last week. My girlfriend's car goes in to get repaired, £600, right? Then I had my car going in for an MOT and needed a bit of work, and it was another £500, right? It's like 1,100 and something pounds. And now I've got money in the bank, right? But the fact that I've got to pay it out, kind of like, I was like that, oh no, more and more money going out, oh, nightmare, right? Because it's like 600 quid, 500 quid, right? You're like, and I caught myself doing this, and I started to realize that I was worrying about the money. I was worrying about it going out. And it's a bit like being on the beach. You've got all these waves crashing in. if you try and grab the waves, you can't grab a wave because it's just going to go out. And people try and do that with the money, try to hold on to the money, I'm never going to pay it out. I don't want to pay it out. It's all I've got. It's all I've got. And it creates this kind of like emotional attachment to having to have it. And so what happened was I caught myself doing this, worrying about, I've got 600 quid and 500 quid. I went, you know what? It's okay. I've got those bills. I'll pay them. No problem. Everything's going to be all right. So that's the belief thing coming in, right? So what I did was I detached myself from the emotional attachment of, worrying about money. And I went, okay, it's absolutely fine. And then the next morning, I had a client phone me up, and I haven't done any work for this client for 2 years. And she phones me up and says, look, can we jump onto a Teams meeting? I says, yeah, fine. And she says, look, I've got a bit of a challenge. Can you give me some time? Can you give me 2 days of work? So let's say, so this is over like the next 3-4 days. I've got to put in 2 days worth of work. She says, I'll give you £1,100. How's that? And I went, fine.
Wow.
And she put some time into filling in these forms, right? That's what it was. I've got to go and do some research, fill in some paperwork for her because she's too busy. And she's going to give me £1,100. And I went, incredible, right? Because I detached myself from the worry,
Right.
I then opened a door, and the universe, the spiritual world said, what do you need? You need £1,100. We're going to give you £1,100, and it's going to pay for both those car bills. And I went, that's amazing. So I'm constantly learning. I might have
Right.
a really good track record and manifested a lot of money, but it's a constant learning thing for
Right.
me, as it is for everyone. And it's like you catch yourself doing things wrong, and you're like, I've got to hold on to this money. I've got to worry about this, and how am I going to pay for that, and blah, 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 blah. And if you let go of it and you release because you know the money exists, it just comes in. And so suddenly I go, all right. So I do 2 days work and it pays both bills. And I'm like, magic. It's a flow. Everything's a flow. And what we humans do is we complicate it, and we stop. Imagine like a kind of stream. Every time we worry, we throw a boulder in, and then another one. And we worry even more, we put even more boulders. And the flow of the water hits the boulders, and then it can't go any further. And the water then goes off in different directions. Well, if that water is like money, and you're sitting down here downstream, it's never going to get to you. And so when you take the boulders out of the water, it flows, and everything flows to you. It's just another way of looking at it, another analogy. And so like every time we start to worry and this, that, and the other, we stop that stream, that flow of money coming to us, because we are going against who we are and against the actual nature of the universe, the spiritual world, and how everything works. So that's why with everything that I do, I explain exactly the relationship between us in the 1% and the 99% who is giving us the money, is giving us the solutions, is giving us the good ideas, giving us whatever we want, but we've got to allow it to come into our lives. And we're just very, very good at blocking it. We are experts at blocking.
That's true. So we just need to really be aware of all our thoughts. And actually, this week, we have already started trying to catch ourselves worrying, because, we always tend to worry, right? And we started playing again. I've heard this from Joe Vitale before. He has this what if up game. So instead of worrying, you try to do the reverse, like what if like a positive thing will happen. So we've started playing that game with our family. But anyway, I know you are such an expert on this, so I want to ask, when did you figure out how to manifest money?
19th of January 2015, I hit rock bottom. I was like about $50,000 in debt, 3 months behind with my mortgage, my credit card, my energy bills, a whole lot, right? And it had just gone bad to worse to an absolute total disaster. And rock bottom is a really good place to be because there's nowhere else to go. And so I went, right, you know what? It's impossible to get any worse than it is at the moment. So what am I doing wrong? The thing that I learned is I had to do the opposite of everything that I'd done before. So like there's an old way of doing things, which is the way that most people work, which is you've got to work hard. You've got to put in more effort. You've got to put in more time. And when that's failing to work, you put in more time and more effort and you fight harder and you do more and you're kind of like, come on. That's the old way of doing things because that's the way that we've been taught. And that's the way that everyone says you'll do things. And yes, some people will get the stuff they want, but at what cost? What cost to their family? You know, they might end up with a divorce because they're working so much, you know, to their health, you know, because they're stressed out. They're just totally and utterly stressed. And that's the old way. And that is like being in a stream. You've heard this, and you're paddling upstream. You're going against the current. You know, you're thinking, I've got to work harder. So you're paddling. But here's the thing. The more you want stuff, right? I want a bigger house. I want a bigger car. The more you have desires, the faster the stream goes. So the faster the stream goes, if you're paddling upstream, you keep trying. And the more you want things, I've got to solve this. The faster the stream goes, the more you've got to paddle, right? So the more you got to paddle, the more you got to work. And then the more stressed you get. It is soul destroying. It really is. But if you can, like I was explaining with that £1,000 thing, let go and lift your oars out of the water and the canoe turns around, everything you want is downstream, because life was designed to be easy, right? It's meant to be easy. It's designed for everything to come to us because it's a reflection of who we are. So if we're calm and relaxed, we get everything flowing to our lives. And it's learning to let go and to go downstream. This is the thing. This is where people go wrong. The old way is to go upstream. You know, the right way, I'm going to call it the new way, is to go downstream and to attract into your life, to manifest everything that you want. And I can take you through, you know, a quick 3 steps in terms of, you know, how I do it, because I know it works. I mean, this year, in terms of profit, about £81,000, over £81,000 this year in 2021 has come into my life that I've manifested in terms of profit from doing different things. And it's coming from loads and loads of different areas. Some of it might be really, really small, like being given, I don't know, like free bagels, you know, in a shop. You know,
Right.
these things count, right? It's all the small things that absolutely count. And so in 2015, I went wrong. And so I had to do the reverse. Rather than working hard and putting in more time and getting more effort and then getting the health problems which I was getting, I had to do the opposite and actually work less and let go. And there's lots of other changes that I had to put in there, which I'll build into these 3 steps I'm going to give you. And by doing that, I went from being under tension and pressure over here to releasing the tension and pressure over here, and things came into my life. People, when they want money, when they want new clients, they're very, very focused in a certain direction, and they think they've got to go and do it. They've got to go and do it in a certain way, but they forget that money, which is energy, comes in different forms. It's nothing to do with dollars or nothing to do with pounds or euros or any currency. That's a human creation. Money is energy, and it comes in different forms. What you've got to do is you've got to think differently and accept that money can come to you from many, many, many different ways. People are very, very focused on it. Has to come from here, has to come from here. And when you do that, you'll block it from coming from all the other directions it could come in from. There's loads and loads of ways that money just comes into your life. That's a long way of explaining what I did. I did the opposite of what I've always done, and I just let it go. And then boom, everything then starts to flow. And because you realize that you're creating that flow, you're taking all the rocks out of the water, you would suddenly realize that you are the creator of everything. And then this is why, if you look at really successful people and how they work, they actually work less. They actually do less. They actually, will sit there and then people come to them and give them business propositions, right? They work completely different to everyone else that's struggling, that's making loads and loads of calls. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, we have experienced that in our life as well.
Yeah.
And I also teach my team, because we practice it in our family, #free money, as I've mentioned to you before. So if you were given like a lunch treat, that's actually money, right? But in terms of free lunch or free ride. So all these things that are coming to us in other forms, not just cash, are actually money. So
Yes.
yeah, I believe in that. So, and are there spiritual laws that govern money, Mark?
What I'll do is I'll take you through kind of like 3 stages to manifest money, right?
Okay.
So the first one, because these are all spiritual laws. And the first thing is to know what you want. Okay. So what people do is they go, right, I want $10 million. And I'm like, no, if you start to be very specific in terms of the amount of money, you'll block it. And they go, but I've got to be specific. And I'm like, well, no, because if you start focusing on, I want $10 million, you are recognizing that it's missing in your life, right? Because you look around and go, where's my money? It's not here. Where's my 10 million? And the recognition of it creates lack, and lack creates more lack, and therefore you create more financial problems. So when I say you know what you want, you could say, I want to be a millionaire, right? Because that could be one, it could be two, it could be 10. I always say to people, start small, because manifestation is a skill. And if you start big, like I want to be a millionaire, and you're able to do the small stuff, I mean, you're absolutely bang on. Free money. It's recognizing all the small things. If you can recognize all the small things that are happening, you can build it up into bigger things. It's a skill. Manifestation is a skill. People go in big and they fail. And because they fail to get the 10 million, they then start focusing on the problems, and then they get more problems. So what I would do is I'd say, right, you could focus on being a millionaire. What about financial freedom? Because if you've got debts, you've got money going out, then if I asked you to shut your eyes, and people watching this right now could do this, if you shut your eyes and I said to you, how does it feel to have financial freedom? Just for 1 minute, where you've got no debts, everything's been repaid. So every dollar, dime, cent, euro, whatever's coming into your life is then yours. And it's just yours. You owe nothing to no one, no banks, no nothing. People can immediately identify with that financial freedom. And if you can feel that financial freedom in terms of how it feels at an emotional level, then if that's how you feel, then that's what you get coming back into your life. So I would say to people, rather than saying I need $50,000 or $10,000, turn it into, if I had financial freedom, how would it feel? And that is an absolute key, is looking at it rather than focusing on big chunks of money, is to focus on kind of key words that you can then attach, an emotion to. Because any time in the past I've tried to manifest money and I've wanted a specific amount, I usually fail because I've got an attachment to the lack of it, right? Whereas if I can attach myself to the feeling of already got it, then that's where it kind of changes. And then the second thing is, what you want to do is to be able to feel emotionally what it's like to have it. So instead of like saying, I want the big house, and you visualize the big house, visualizing the house, visualizing the car, to me is an absolute waste of time. Because if you at an emotional level feel the lack of it, then it doesn't matter how good your visualization is, driving the car or walking in the steps, you're going to block it. So what you want to do is you want to say, right, okay, what is it that I want? And how does it make me feel? So I'm talking about, is it relief from having in? Is it going to be relaxed? Or is it acknowledgement that I've achieved something amazing? What are the emotions that you can attach? So if a house is really important, how are you going to feel in the house? Are you going to be jumping around, giving it, yay? If that's the emotion, then that's the emotion. Nothing to do with how big the house is and south-facing windows, looking over my swimming pool. That's all nonsense. It's all down to the emotions that you attach to the feeling. Because if you can hold those emotions in your body, spiritual laws, you have to receive that which you're focusing on. And this is where people go wrong. They set the goals, they set the financial targets, and then emotionally over here, it's all, right? And so that stuff over there, all very good, but complete waste of time, because emotionally, it's like that tug of war thing. They're being pulled off in the wrong direction because they're focusing on what they don't want. And then I'd say the last thing is you have to believe it exists. If there's no belief, then how are you going to get something? if you disbelieve that it exists, and this is why I always say we're the 1%. Everything that we want is given to us, and it's sitting here within our aura, right? And it's sitting there waiting to come into our lives. It's been given to us. That is correct. But we have to know it's there and believe that it's going to come in. And the way that we know it's going to come in is by being excited about different aspects in our lives. These doors open up and you see the small things, your free money, free meal, the free bus fare. All that stuff is worth its weight in gold, because that's little doors opening up and things coming in. And because those come in, and because you recognize it, more doors open up and then more stuff comes in. So if you follow those steps, then suddenly you'll find a massive shift, because rather than blocking it, you're allowing it. And that's the allowing bit. This is where everyone goes wrong. They worry and they get upset and they disbelieve it's going to happen, and they're focusing on big numbers, and then it never turns up, and then they go, look, see, I told you I was going to end up in problems.
Okay, well, what are the 3 big mistakes that people make in manifesting money?
I would say, in terms of the big mistakes, is they focus on big things, right? If you're a baby, you got to learn to crawl and then walk and then stand up. Well, stand up and then walk and then run. So the big mistakes is people focus on wanting big stuff, whereas they're unable to prove that they're good at the small stuff. And we should have at least 10 thoughts a day that happen. Little thoughts like, where did I put my scissors? And you turn around and there they are, right? That's manifestation. Anything small like that is manifestation. And when you recognize you're doing that, you can build up from that, and then you get bigger and bigger things, right? Because it becomes natural. So that's the big one, right? Is people focus on, they go straight in too big. Second is they've got no belief. They ask, but emotionally, they have no belief that it's actually going to come in. It's kind of like there's different types of prayer. You can pray and you believe it's going to happen, or you can pray out of desperation. If you pray out of desperation, the chances are it won't happen because you're in the wrong belief space. Okay. And I'll say the third mistake is that if you know it's going to happen, so let's say, for example, you sold a house, you're going to get paid for that house in 2 weeks. You know the money's coming in 2 weeks, right? That money's going to make a major difference into your life. You can maybe repay debts, all sorts of things, right? And suddenly you're going to have this money, but it's not coming for 2 weeks. I will guarantee every minute of every day for those 2 weeks, you're going to feel great, right? It doesn't matter what's going on. The debt collectors could come to your door. It doesn't matter, right? The fact that you know the money's going to come in, you feel great. Do you have the money now? No. Do you have the money tomorrow? No. Do you going to have the money in 13 days' time? No. 14 days. So what should happen is, if you've asked for something, the way that makes you feel, so I said earlier on, close your eyes. I feel relaxed. I feel, the relief. I feel excited. Whatever it is, you should be feeling that. You have to. This isn't a spiritual law. You have to feel that now, even though the thing that you want has yet to appear in the physical. Right? You have to feel it now, and most people will never do that. And so I set an alarm on my phone every hour. You should have a burning desire in life. And so what I do is I pick something that I'm focusing on that makes me feel really good. And my phone goes off on the hour. And then basically I then remind myself to go back into that place of feeling how good it feels for that thing to already exist now. So if it was a pot of money and I felt relieved and chilled out, then I'd remind myself, because what happens is during our day, we get stressed and then we get a call and then this happens and that happens. And rather than going in one direction, we start to go off in the other. And because I set my phone, it brings me back. And then I'm in this place where it's really good, and life's great. And because I'm in that place and that's how I feel, then I have to be given everything I feel. So this type of thing, set things on the hour, is important because it kind of reprograms the mind. It reprograms who we are so that we remind ourselves how we're meant to feel. And it's just too easy just to, this goes wrong, that goes wrong. And then suddenly, you're down here somewhere. And this is what I'm saying. It's like a tug of war. What percentage of your time do you feel good, excited, and happy? And what percentage of the time are you focusing on problems and you're worrying and you're down or whatever? And for most people, this one is really big and this one is really small.
Right.
And if your problems are, if you're spending most of your time, more than 51% of your time over here, you're going to get more of this stuff. And so your manifestations just never happen because you're in the wrong place.
That's actually a great way to have a reminder every hour to be deliberate in our actions, in our thoughts, right? So is that part of your process, or is there like a specific process or way to manifest money?
Because the answer is yes. The problem with a lot of humans is we have no idea what we want. If you go to someone and say, right, if you go to the shops, right, Joey, I'd say, do you know what you want? You go, yeah, I know what I want because I've got a piece of paper or on my phone. I've made a list of everything that I want. So I say, when you come back from the shops, will you have everything that you want? And you'll go, yeah, pretty much, unless they never had it in stock. But if you ask humans, if you ask us, what do we want? Most people, the vast majority, will have no idea. How much money do you want? What are you going to spend on? How good is it going to feel? Well, they'll come up with some kind of answer and say, well, physically, what do you want? Do you want to lose some weight? Do you want to be fitter? Your health, what do you want? What changes do you want? Spiritually, what changes do you want? Your hobbies, what do you want? Would you like more time? Where would you spend that time? And then you start asking all these kind of questions. What would you do if you had more time? Where do you want to go in life? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Right? So if you imagine obviously the film Aladdin. You rub the genie and the genie says, I'll give you 3 wishes. And if I gave you a lamp now, you'd probably be able to tell me what 3 things that you wanted. Most people would have to go away and think about it. And that's where life, for a lot of people, goes wrong because they've got no idea what they want. But they're very good at focusing on everything that they don't want. And then they get more of that, and then they wonder why their lives are rubbish, full of debt, or their lack of clients, or whatever. It's because they've got no idea what they want. To get manifestation right, you have to know what's really important to you. What do you want? So rather than just the $10 million, is that what you want? What about your health? Would you rather have $10 and perfect health or $10 million in rubbish health? We were given skills when we were born, like manifestations one, and it's like a superpower that we can manifest anything and everything that we want. But most of the time we use it completely for the wrong reasons. And this is what I did back pre-2015. I just created more and more problems, and then more and more problems, and then problems on top of the problems. And it just gets worse and worse and worse until you suddenly wake up one day and you go, I've got to do the opposite of everything that I've ever done. And that is really hard. I thought I was going nuts to do the opposite rather than working hard and going work less. It doesn't make any sense. Why would I want to work less? And then I found that when I stopped thinking about having to chase this client, having to chase that sale, having to chase this, and I went and did other things, like I always use cutting the grass as an example, because I like the smell of grass. Because I went into that relaxation mode of cutting the grass, I'd literally be outside and my phone would ring and it'd be another client saying, when can we get started? And that's the difference. It's which direction do you want to go? Upstream, very, very hard, or downstream, very, very easy.
What would you suggest to people who worry so much about stuff? Because what you're trying to suggest, which of course I understand, that we need to have moments of silence, of clarity. How about those people who are just too busy about their work and they're just caught up in worries? everything that they are worried about just magnifies. What would you advise to them on how they could easily turn around their situation?
Okay, so first thing I'd say is 99% of everything that you worry about never happens. And you can test that for yourself by thinking about all the things you worried about last week or the month before. And 99% doesn't, it never happens. What I would do is I'd get a pen and paper and I would literally write down everything that worried me, right? And just I'd keep on writing and writing and writing and writing. And when I got to the end of that list, I would rip up the paper, I'd put it in some kind of pot outside, and I'd set fire to it, right? I would destroy it. A bit like a kind of ceremony of sorts, because it's all about you being in control of your life, as opposed to being controlled by your thoughts of things that are never going to happen. And so I'd burn it, and I'd go, right, gone. And then I'd get another bit of paper, and I'd say, right, okay, I'm going to list, I don't know, 6 things, 10 things that I would like to come into my life. Starting with small things, just small daily things that would be really, really good. And then I'd start to get into a new flow of thinking. I'd create this little list of small things that could happen during your day, tomorrow. You know, it could be like a parcel arriving on time, maybe getting a discount of something when you go to the shop, something small. And then I'll start looking at that list maybe once an hour when the alarm goes off, or at least a couple of times a day, and get myself into a new way of thinking of all the things that would be good to come into my life. And when they happen, you go tick, 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 and you start crossing them off. You start realizing that you've created some good stuff. You've got rid of all the old stuff. And I would do that. And then you'll think of something else, add it to the list. And so you're shifting your thought patterns from problems, and worry to, oh, look, that happened, and this happened, and that happened, and all these good little things coming in. And if you do that, it makes a massive, massive difference, because you then realize that you've created this to happen, nobody else. And these are the baby steps. And once you do that, you can then build up from that into bigger things you can add to your list. But always start small.
Are you going to give us technique like what you have taught your masterclass?
There's one technique that I've got. I can guarantee that this technique works. Can I guarantee it'll work for everyone every time? No, because people block it from working, right? But I can guarantee the technique works. And it takes around about 90 seconds to do. And so you want to start with things that are small. So you've created this small list. It comes in sort of like 4 little stages. Stage 1 is you'd close your eyes. So obviously you never do this when you're driving. I've got to say that in case someone's driving and they go and do this, you know. And then having closed your eyes, imagine you're somewhere up high, more than 76 foot. Why exactly 76? I don't know. So it could be on a mountain, cloud, tall building, hot air balloon, wherever you fancy, right? And because you're up a certain height, it just means that you're starting to kind of connect to the subconscious level with the spiritual world, as opposed to within the physical thoughts, which are very, very dense. And then you ask for something. Start with something small. I mean, it could be as silly as a car parking space, your keys turning up because you've mislaid them. Never use the word lost, because lost is permanent. Mislaid just means they're somewhere. Or maybe you're waiting on a phone call from someone. You want to hear some good news, something like that. And you would ask within yourself, as if you were asking like spiritual world or God. You say, look, can I please have such and such and such? And then you'd add a time scale to it. So is it in the next half an hour? Is it the next day? If you fail to add the time scale, then the thing will happen, but it might happen in a year. And a year's no good if you want to go driving this afternoon and you only won't find your keys. And then what you do is, having said, and then you say thank you, right? So this is, again, working in the present tense. So you say thank you as if it's already happened, okay? Really important, because it's a relationship that you have with the spiritual world, right? And they want to know that you recognize that they exist, because they're the ones that are giving you everything, right? And they want to give you more and more. And so you say thanks as if it's already happened. And this is where people go wrong. They ask, and then they're waiting for it to happen in the future. Whereas if you ask, and then you say thank you as if it's already existed, because I said earlier on, it already is here. It will then come into your life. You then open your eyes, and very importantly, you go and do something completely different to the thing that you're focusing on. So for example, if it was mislaid keys, the last thing you would do is go hunt, go and look for my keys, because by doing that, you're assuming that it's you that's going to find the keys. So this is this kind of perception that the answer is only going to come from one place. And then what you do is you end up blocking the manifestation from happening. So with that example with keys, you'd open your eyes and go make yourself a cup of tea, right? Or cut the grass. And what happens is the keys will then come and find you, or whatever it is will happen. Whatever you're looking to happen can come from multiple different directions. So that's the technique. You close your eyes, imagine you're up at least 76 foot. You ask, set the time frame as well. When do you want it by? Is it an hour? Is it before the end of the day? You say thank you as if it's already happened. You open your eyes and you go and do something completely different. And when you do that, you'll be amazed at what you see. And then, as I'm saying, if you start with the smaller things and you can tick them off a list, you then realize that you've created all that to happen. And because you've created it, you are then the master of your own life. And then you become a super manifester, because you're like, oh, this is a really good game because it's fun. And that's the technique that I've developed, and it works. It works really, really well.
Wow, thank you so much for that. We have attended your manifesting course, right? And we've tried that and it worked, actually. So thank you once again, Coach Mark, for your time, and we'll see you again next week.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Right, thank you for your time.
Bye, thanks.
I'm JJ.
I'm Dan.
I'm Jock. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW,
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals that will share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
And we'll have these episodes ready and available on our YouTube channel for your future reference.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday.
It's time!